a massive earthquake striking central Mexico, particularly in and around Mexico City. What we know right now is it had registered 7.1 on the Richter scale in the town of Rebozo, 76 miles southeast of Mexico City. Of course, no stranger to these type of calamities. Clouds of smoke could be seen in Mexico City and around buildings that appeared to simply collapse. Office buildings shaken and a lot of windows shattered, as were a lot of people in those buildings a little shaken up as well. Let's get the latest read from Rick Aster, the former Seismologist Society of America president. Rick, this area is no stranger to earthquakes. They had one that was fairly significant just a couple of weeks ago, but this in a much more populated region. What can you tell us, and what does this tell you about what happens now?
Yeah, well, you're correct. This was very different than the other recent earthquake. In Mexico, it wasn't a highly populated area. It was a fairly large earthquake, 7.1, certainly very significant. It was rather deep. That is, the place where the fault slipped was over 30 miles below the surface, so that reduced the potential damage somewhat, but we are looking at a very significant earthquake here in Mexico.
This particular one here, and of course what we're seeing about the buildings, some holding up well, others not. Now, they had been girding for this and preparing for this, much like you have a lot of communities that were in the path of hurricanes, getting to be more hurricane resistant, or at least deal with them. Mexico's had to deal with that as well, but it's sometimes luck of the draw, right?
That's right, and Mexico has made strides. This is not going to be nothing like the 1985 earthquake, which occurred exactly on this date.
That's right.
In Mexico City. However, there's a lot of old construction in Mexico, and it takes many decades to make your building stock more resilient.
And, you know, it's always just that luck, too, of where you are. It's such a densely populated city and area. When you look at the fallout from something like this, there are always aftershocks, I guess, Rick. I mean, what do you envision here? What do Mexicans have to look out for in the area region?
Well, there'll certainly be strong aftershocks. There's a small chance of another very strong earthquake, although it's not a high probability. But approximately 10 million people felt strong ground motion in this earthquake, and we are anticipating casualties, and we're already seeing early indications of that. It's a significant event in Mexico. It's certainly not a worst case, but we're girding ourselves for some difficult times for the Mexican people in recovering from this.
The earthquake severity and then the number of them over the last year, I mean, you keep track of this, and you did, of course, and your days just monitoring these worldwide. How has earthquake activity been, besides places in Haiti and elsewhere, where, of course, it could be exponentially more dangerous and disastrous, given, you know, the fact they have so few structures able to withstand even minor tremors?
Right. Well, the natural frequency of earthquakes is highly random. What is changing in the world, of course, is that we have much larger cities, and we have a lot more people in harm's way. So it's a race against building smarter buildings and public education and the geological inevitability of large earthquakes.
All right, and just as you were guesstimating, Rick, we are getting confirmation from Mexico City's mayor that there are people apparently trapped in collapsed buildings in and around the city. For a lot of those folks, and even the rescue effort is complicated by those aftershocks you talked about, right? Indeed.
Strong aftershocks are a significant hazard during the early period of recovery from an event like this. The epicenter of the earthquake was actually much closer to Puebla, which is a major city of well over, I believe, 3 million people in the immediate area, southeast of Mexico City. So it's not just Mexico City that was affected in terms of large urban areas.
All right. Thank you very, very much.